Hi all, I have another fascinating game of Leela Chess. She was playing black against Komodo 9.02, so this is Leela ID 489. This game was contributed by David Grosvenor. The time control indicated is 40 moves per minute. Komodo was on a 2.6 gigahertz i5, and Leela was on a GTX 1060, so the Leela ratio was calculated at 0.96, which has slightly favoured the CPU side, as far as David understands. So D4 from Komodo, as in Komodo dragon. So D5 from Leela, we have C4, C6 the Slav, knight F3, knight F6, knight C3, this is, I believe, called the Dutch variation. D takes C4, so black takes on C4, A4, bishop F5, E3, E6, bishop takes C4, knight BD7, white castles, bishop G6, queen E2. This is a little bit already of an awkward placement because black has the possibility of pinning the knight, and it's difficult to unpin. So bear that in mind. Bishop B4, bishop D2, A5, bishop D3, and we have this pinning now, this awkward pinning. Bishop H5, H3, and now black, instead of routinely castling, Leela plays E5 just to really celebrate the pin. If, for example, D takes, this didn't happen, knight takes, you can see the pin pressure and also the pressure on D3. So say this, queen C8, this is really dangerous for white. For example here, bang, bishop takes G4, queen takes G4, white's falling to bits here. White's just basically losing material. So it's pretty dangerous to take here. We have G4 instead. Now guess what Leela plays in this position, if I give you 5 seconds to pause the video. Okay, bang, knight takes G4. Yeah, a knight for a couple of pawns. But Leela understands pass pawns, so anything Leela does with a kingside attack is also sometimes connected with dangerous running past pawns being rammed down the brute force engine's throats. So just bear that in mind. Rook F E1, we have F5 threatening E4. So white stops that with E4 itself, but now F4, and black's getting a very aggressive pawn chain now. Queen F6, we have King G2. G5, very aggressive pawn play now. H5. So Leela's really playing it like an aggressive human player, this position. King G1, and now bishop takes F3 to get the tempo G4. Some caution is needed here. It looks as though G3 is really, really tempting to play straight away after knight D1. But some caution is needed here. Rook G8 was played. If G3 straight away, actually there's a technical move in Queen H3 which is causing problems here, because if black now castles queenside, for example, then there's rook takes C5. That knight's pinned. So what does black do? If rook G8, King F1, and what does black do? It's a pretty awkward position. King D8, white might actually have a small advantage. Yeah, it's actually trickier than one would hope. So the way to play this is not allow that horrible resource, Queen H3, too easily. In fact, okay, the rook gets out of the firing line here of the bishop. King F1. Now, the H3 square is basically occupied with H4 coming to H3. Queen H1, H3. So still the flood of pawns now with G3 is on the way, potentially, under the right preparation. King E7, so a rook needs to maybe support this one for G3, basically. King E2, Queen H4, the queen is supporting now this H3 pawn. Bishop C4, and now one more step. White's getting absolutely squished, and this is pretty desperate, losing F2. Knight takes, queen takes, King C2, F3. Yes, white is absolutely getting squished. On rook f1, then queen g2. Black has a big advantage here, clearly. So rook ed1. And now the other rook comes in to join the party. And now g3. This is going to be winning material, whatever happens. White tries to be tactically bothersome by opening up that d file. And now here, after g2, yeah, it plays rook takes d7 check. So some spike checks, basically. Rook d6 parries things. But are there some more dangerous checks now? Well, queen a7 to the rescue. Hits the bishop as well. White takes off one of the dangerous pawns. And there might be more checks on the way. But Leela takes a5. That's important to take a5. Instead of any checks, taking this pawn. So black's material up. The exchange up. And the game continues like this. Queen d2, check. Rook h1. Queen f4. Queen g3. Queen g1. Rook h. d8, doubling the rooks. Rook takes h2. Is desperate. It's a totally desperate position. But what can white play? If, for example, a5, then rook d3, this position is crushing. With a5 dropping, that's just a token example. So we try and do something else. King a3 instead. You know, again, rook d3. This is just really crushing stuff. So this is desperate. Rook takes h2. That's taken. It's all over by the shouting, basically. It's all over. So here, it stops here. Adjudicated as a win for black. So, an interesting game, quite a crushing game, quite dramatic with all the pawns flooding. So if Leela gets away against a weak kind of brute force chess engine, well, weak hardware, Komodo 9 is not that bad, but not so brilliant hardware, i5, this is what can happen. Dramatic stuff can happen on the board with connected passed pawns as part of what was an attack on the king. So that's a trademark Leela strategy, it seems, to combine king attack with passed pawns coming at her opponents later on. Hope you enjoyed that one. Comments, questions, likes, shares appreciated. Thanks so much.